Are you over 60 and eating seeds every day without realizing some of them might be working against you? It sounds harmless. A spoonful here, a sprinkle there. But a few of the most common seeds in your kitchen can quietly stress your gut, your liver, or your immune system once you pass 60, while a handful of lesser-known seeds can do the opposite, protecting your heart, your brain, and your energy for years to come. Before we get into which is which, do one simple thing for me. Tap that like button, hit subscribe, and send this video to someone in your life who's over 60 and snacks on seeds without thinking twice. It takes 5 seconds, and it might change what's sitting in their pantry by tonight. Let's start with why this topic even matters so much once you cross 60. Your body, at this stage, isn't the same machine it was at 30 or even 45. Digestion slows down, stomach acid production often decreases, the gut lining becomes a little more sensitive, and the immune system, the one that used to shrug off almost anything, starts reacting more strongly to things it used to tolerate just fine. At the same time, your liver and kidneys, the two organs responsible for filtering and processing everything you eat, don't bounce back from stress as quickly as they once did. Seeds sit right in the middle of this story because they are incredibly concentrated. A small spoonful can carry more fiber, more fat, more plant compounds, and more protein than a much larger portion of most vegetables. That concentration is exactly what makes certain seeds so beneficial. It's also exactly what makes certain seeds risky, because a body that's more sensitive than it used to be can struggle to process that concentrated load, especially in large amounts or without the right preparation. There's another piece of this puzzle that rarely gets mentioned, and it has to do with medication. Many people over 60 are managing one or more prescriptions, whether for blood pressure, blood thinning, cholesterol, or blood sugar. Certain seeds interact with these systems in ways that are usually mild and manageable, but worth knowing about. A seed that gently supports healthy blood pressure, for example, is wonderful news for most people, but worth mentioning to a doctor if you're already on medication for the exact same thing. Simply so, the combined effect stays within a healthy range, rather than pushing numbers too low. None of this means seeds are dangerous when paired with medication. It simply means this is exactly the kind of small, easy-to-miss detail worth a quick conversation with your doctor or pharmacist, especially if you're planning to make any of these seeds a genuine daily habit rather than an occasional addition. So today, we're going to walk through 2 lists. First, the seeds that deserve a second look if you're over 60, the ones that can cause more harm than good if you're not careful with them. Then, the seeds that genuinely deserve a permanent spot in your daily routine, the ones that function almost like a quiet, natural form of support for your heart, your brain, your blood sugar, and your immune defenses. Stick with me, because the difference between these 2 lists could be the difference between feeling sluggish and inflamed or feeling clear-headed and strong well into your 70s and beyond. Let's begin with the seeds worth being cautious about. The first one might surprise you because it's everywhere. Sesame seeds, they're baked into bread, sprinkled on crackers, blended into sauces and dressings, and used constantly in everyday cooking. The issue isn't that sesame is inherently bad. The issue is that sesame has become one of the most significant food allergens worldwide in recent years, right alongside peanuts and shellfish. As the immune system ages, it can become more reactive rather than less. And for some seniors, that means a seed they've eaten their whole life without issue can suddenly trigger a reaction, ranging from mild skin irritation and swelling all the way to a severe, dangerous response. Doctors have actually noted a rise in adult-onset food sensitivities that never existed earlier in life. And sesame is frequently near the top of that list, which makes it worth paying attention to even if you've never had a reaction before. If you've never had a problem with sesame, that's genuinely good news, but it's still worth knowing that this particular seed carries a real allergy risk that tends to be underestimated simply because it feels so ordinary and familiar. The second seed on this list is one most people consider a completely innocent snack: sunflower seeds. In small amounts, they're genuinely fine, even beneficial, offering healthy fats and a decent dose of vitamin E. The danger here isn't the seed itself, it's the portion. Sunflower seeds are easy to snack on mindlessly. A handful while watching television turns into half a bag before you know it. Eating them in large quantities on a regular basis can irritate the gums and mouth, especially with shelled varieties, and the high fat content combined with certain plant compounds can place unnecessary strain on the liver when consumed in excess. There's also the salt factor, since most packaged sunflower seeds are heavily salted, which adds an entirely separate concern for blood pressure. The lesson here isn't to avoid sunflower seeds completely, it's to treat them the way you treat any concentrated snack, with real portion control, not with the whole bag in one sitting. Before we move to the third seed on this list, I want to pause for a second because this next point matters. If you've made it this far, and you're already realizing you eat 1 or 2 of these seeds daily without thinking about portion size, drop a comment below and tell me which one surprised you most. I read every comment, And I genuinely want to know which of these habits are the most common among people watching right now. The third seed worth watching is pumpkin seeds. These get a lot of praise, and rightly so, for supporting prostate health and providing a good source of zinc and magnesium. But for many people, over 60, especially those with a naturally sensitive digestive system, pumpkin seeds can be surprisingly difficult to process in larger quantities. Eating more than a small handful in a sitting can lead to bloating, gas, and stomach cramping, particularly if your gut is already dealing with slower digestion. This doesn't mean pumpkin seeds are off limits. It simply means moderation matters here more than most people assume, and roasting or lightly toasting them can make them noticeably easier on the stomach than eating them raw. If you notice discomfort even with a small handful, it may also help to remove the outer hull, since the fibrous shell tends to be the part that causes the most irritation for a sensitive gut. The fourth seed is one that gets marketed constantly as an essential superfood, and in many ways, it deserves that reputation. Flax seeds. They're an excellent source of fiber and plant-based omega-3 fats, but that same high fiber content is exactly what can cause trouble if you're not careful. Adding too much flax too quickly to your diet, especially without drinking enough water alongside it, can lead to significant digestive distress, cramping, gas, and in some cases diarrhea, for anyone already managing. Irritable bowel symptoms, or a generally sensitive gut? A large spoonful of flax seed can turn a normal day into an uncomfortable one fast. The fix isn't to avoid flax, it's to start small, increase gradually, always grind the seeds rather than eating them whole for better absorption, and drink plenty of water whenever you include them in a meal. Whole flax seeds, in particular, often pass through the digestive system almost entirely undigested, meaning you get very little of the actual benefit. Unless they're ground first, so a small coffee grinder kept just for this purpose can make a genuine difference. The fifth and final seed on the caution list might be the most surprising of all, because it's become something of a wellness trend darling. Chia seeds. They're stirred into smoothies, sprinkled over yogurt, and soaked into puddings everywhere you look. For most people, they're perfectly safe when prepared correctly. The real danger shows up when chia seeds are eaten dry without soaking. Chia has a remarkable ability to absorb many times its weight in liquid, and if dry seeds are swallowed and then meet saliva or liquid in the throat, they can expand rapidly right where they landed. This has caused real choking incidents, and it's a risk that's rarely mentioned when chia gets its usual glowing wellness reputation. There's also a secondary concern for anyone with sensitivities to sesame or mustard seeds, since chia can sometimes trigger a similar allergic response. The solution is simple though. Always soak chia seeds in water, milk, or yogurt for at least 10 to 15 minutes before eating them, never straight from the bag. Now here's where things get genuinely exciting, because the second half of this list is where seeds stop being something to watch carefully and start becoming something closer to a daily ally. Let's talk about the 5 seeds that deserve a real place in your everyday routine after 60. Starting with hemp seeds. These small, soft seeds have a mild, nutty flavor, and they're one of the very few plant foods that contain all 9 essential amino acids, meaning they offer a genuinely complete source of protein. That matters enormously as we age, because maintaining muscle mass becomes harder and more important at the same time, and a complete plant protein source is a real asset for anyone looking to support strength and energy without relying entirely on meat or dairy. Hemp seeds are also rich in magnesium, a mineral that plays a role in relaxing blood vessels, supporting healthy blood pressure, and calming an overactive nervous system. Unlike many other seeds on this list, hemp seeds have no hard outer shell to worry about and require absolutely no soaking or grinding, which makes them one of the easiest possible additions to any meal, even for someone who has never cooked with seeds before. A simple way to use them is stirring a tablespoon or two into oatmeal, yogurt, or a morning smoothie. No preparation needed, no soaking required, just a soft, easy addition to whatever you're already eating. The second seed on this list often gets mistaken for a grain, but it's technically a seed, and it's one of the most nutritionally complete foods available. Quinoa. It delivers high-quality protein along with fiber and a range of antioxidants, and it has a reputation for helping keep blood sugar levels more stable compared to refined grains like white rice. For anyone managing blood sugar concerns, or simply wanting a steadier source of energy throughout the day rather than a spike and crash, quinoa is an easy substitute. For rice or pasta in almost any meal, it cooks the same way rice does, works beautifully as a salad base, and holds up well as leftovers, making it practical for anyone who doesn't want to cook from scratch every single day. Another underrated benefit is how gentle quinoa tends to be on digestion compared to many whole grains, since it's naturally gluten-free and relatively easy to break down, which matters for anyone whose digestive system has become a little less forgiving with age. The third seed might be one of the most beautiful foods on this entire list, and it happens to be genuinely powerful too. Pomegranate seeds. These bright, juicy little gems are loaded with antioxidants and vitamin C, and they've been studied for their potential role in supporting healthy blood circulation and reducing inflammation throughout the body. For a demographic where cardiovascular health becomes an increasingly central concern, a food that supports blood vessel health, while tasting genuinely delicious, is a rare and welcome combination. There's something worth appreciating here beyond the nutrition, too. Unlike a lot of health foods that feel like a chore to eat, pomegranate seeds are genuinely enjoyable, sweet, tart, and satisfying in a way that makes healthy eating feel less like a discipline and more like a small daily pleasure. Try tossing a handful into yogurt, scattering them over a salad, or simply eating them straight from the fruit as a refreshing snack. If you've stayed with me this far, that tells me you actually care about getting this right, not just hearing a list and moving on. So here's my ask. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, because we're about to cover the 2 most powerful seeds on this entire list, and I don't want you to miss what's coming in future videos on this exact topic. This channel exists to make sense of confusing health information for people who deserve clear, honest answers, not marketing hype. The 4th seed on the beneficial list is one of the oldest remedies in recorded history, and it remains remarkably relevant today: fenugreek seeds. These small, slightly bitter seeds have long been used to support digestion and to help manage blood sugar levels, and modern research has continued to explore their role in supporting healthier cholesterol levels and easing heartburn. For anyone dealing with blood sugar concerns or high blood pressure, fenugreek offers a gentle, food-based approach worth discussing with a doctor as a complement to standard care. What makes fenugreek especially appealing is how little it asks of you. There's no complicated recipe, no special equipment, just a small jar of seeds and a glass of water. A traditional preparation is soaking a teaspoon of seeds in a glass of water overnight, drinking the water first thing in the morning, and then chewing the softened seeds afterward. It's a simple ritual that takes almost no effort and fits easily into any morning routine, and many people find that once it becomes a habit, they genuinely miss it on the mornings they skip it. Quick pause here, because I want to hear from you directly. Out of the 5 beneficial seeds we've covered so far, hemp, quinoa, pomegranate, and fenugreek, which one is completely new to you? Just type the name in the comments, nothing else needed. I read through these, and it helps me understand which of these foods deserve a deeper, standalone video of their own down the road. The 5th and final seed on this list is often overlooked entirely, despite centuries of traditional use across many cultures: nigella seeds, sometimes called black seed or black cumin. These tiny black seeds carry a peppery, slightly bitter flavor, and they've been associated with anti-inflammatory and immune-supporting properties for generations. For anyone dealing with joint discomfort, seasonal immune challenges, or simply looking to give their overall immune defenses a boost, nigella seeds offer an easy, low-effort addition to daily meals. They're inexpensive, they last a long time in the pantry without spoiling, and a little genuinely goes a long way, since their flavor is strong enough that a teaspoon is usually plenty for an entire dish. Sprinkle them over bread before baking, stir them into soups, or mix a small amount with honey for a simple daily tonic that takes seconds to prepare. Now let's put all of this together into something practical, because knowing which seeds help and which seeds need caution only matters if you actually use that information. Here are 3 easy ways to bring the beneficial seeds into your daily life without overthinking it. The first is a simple morning bowl built around hemp seeds, quinoa, and pomegranate. Start with a half cup of cooked quinoa mixed with a half cup of plain yogurt. Stir in a tablespoon of hemp seeds and top with a spoonful of fresh pomegranate seeds. If you like a touch of sweetness, a small drizzle of honey works perfectly. This combination gives you complete protein, steady energy, and a real dose of antioxidants, all in one bowl that takes less than 5 minutes to put together, especially if you cook a batch of quinoa ahead of time and keep it in the fridge for the week. The second is a soothing tea built around fenugreek, perfect after a meal or in the evening when digestion feels sluggish. Take a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds, a cup of water, and a thin slice of fresh ginger. Bring everything to a gentle boil, then let it simmer for about 5 minutes before straining into a mug. A small squeeze of lemon rounds it out nicely. This warm, slightly earthy tea has been used for generations to settle the stomach and support digestion, and it takes almost no effort to prepare. The third is a warm, savory oatmeal built around nigella and hemp seeds, ideal for a cold morning or anytime you want something more substantial than a sweet breakfast. Toast a teaspoon of nigella seeds in a dry pot for about 30 seconds to release their flavor. Then add a half cup of rolled oats and a cup of vegetable broth instead of water. Simmer for 5 to 7 minutes. Stir in a tablespoon of nutritional yeast for savory, slightly cheesy flavor, and top the finished bowl with a tablespoon of hemp seeds. It's warm, comforting, and quietly packed with immune-supporting ingredients. Before we wrap up, a few practical guidelines that apply no matter which seeds you choose to eat. Moderation genuinely matters here. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day of any given seed is generally enough to get real benefit without overloading your digestive system. Harder seeds benefit enormously from soaking, grinding, or light cooking, both for easier digestion and for better nutrient absorption. Whenever you try a new seed for the first time, start small. A teaspoon, not a heaping spoonful, just to see how your body responds before making it a daily habit. Choose raw or lightly roasted versions whenever possible, and steer clear of the heavily salted, sugar-coated, or deep-fried varieties that show up in so many packaged snacks, since those add sodium and unhealthy fats that cancel out much of the benefit. And finally, seeds tend to work best when paired with other foods, stirred into yogurt, tossed with vegetables, blended into a smoothie, rather than eaten completely on their own in large amounts. It's also worth thinking about timing, not just quantity. Some people find that seeds high in fiber, like flax or fenugreek, sit better earlier in the day, giving the digestive system plenty of hours to process them before bedtime. Others find that a small handful of hemp seeds in the evening, stirred into a bowl of yogurt, makes a satisfying, protein-rich snack that curbs late-night cravings without the sugar crash that comes from reaching for something sweeter. There's no single correct schedule that works for everyone, and that's actually good news because it means you have room to experiment gently and figure out what feels best for your own body, rather than following a rigid rule that ignores how differently each of us responds to food. One more thing worth mentioning: storage matters more than people realize. Seeds contain natural oils, and those oils can turn rancid over time, especially if left in a warm cupboard near the stove or in direct sunlight. Keeping seeds in an airtight container in the refrigerator or even the freezer for longer-term storage helps preserve both their flavor and their nutritional value. A rancid seed doesn't just taste unpleasant, it can also lose much of the benefit you were hoping to get from it in the first place. So a little attention to how you store them goes a long way toward making sure every spoonful is actually worth eating. Here's the bigger picture worth remembering. Seeds are not automatically good or automatically bad. They're simply concentrated, and concentration is a double-edged quality. The same properties that make a seed powerful for your health are the properties that can cause trouble if you eat too much, too fast, or without the right preparation, especially once your body has entered a stage of life where digestion, immunity, and organ function all deserve a little more respect and attention than they used to need. The 5 seeds worth watching, sesame, sunflower, pumpkin, flax, and chia, aren't villains. They're simply ingredients that ask for a bit more awareness, smaller portions, proper preparation, and attention to how your own body responds. The 5 seeds worth embracing, hemp, quinoa, pomegranate, fenugreek, and nigella, offer something close to a daily natural form of support for your heart, your blood sugar, your digestion, and your immune system, all from small, simple additions to meals you're probably already eating. If there's one thing to take away from everything we've covered today, it's this: your plate after 60 deserves the same level of thought and care that you put into everything else that matters in your life, your relationships, your finances, your time. Food is not separate from that. It's actually one of the most direct and immediate ways you influence how you feel, not just years from now, but tomorrow morning when you wake up. A small handful of the right seeds, chosen thoughtfully and prepared properly, really can function like a quiet form of daily medicine, working in the background while you go about your life. So here's what I'd encourage you to do this week. Take a look at what's actually sitting in your pantry right now. If you find a bag of sunflower seeds you've been snacking on without limits, or a jar of chia seeds you've been eating dry, that's not a reason to panic. It's simply useful information you didn't have yesterday. Adjust the portion, change the preparation, and move forward with a little more awareness than before. And if you don't yet have hemp seeds, fenugreek, or nigella in your kitchen, consider picking one of them up this week. And trying just one of the simple recipes we walked through together. Think about it this way for a moment. None of the 5 beneficial seeds we covered today cost very much, and none of them require any special skill or equipment to prepare. A tablespoon of hemp seeds, a small handful of pomegranate, a spoonful of soaked fenugreek. These are small, almost invisible changes to your daily routine. But health at this stage of life is rarely built from one dramatic decision. It's built from dozens of small, unremarkable choices, repeated quietly day after day, until one morning you realize you feel noticeably better than you did a year ago without being able to point to any single dramatic moment that caused it. That's how real, lasting change actually tends to work. Not through one big transformation, but through small habits that compound over time, much like the seeds themselves quietly compounding their benefits inside your body meal after meal. Getting older doesn't mean your body stops responding to good choices. It means those choices start to matter even more, and the returns on small, consistent habits become even more visible over time. The seeds you choose to sprinkle over your breakfast tomorrow morning are a small decision, but small decisions, repeated daily, are exactly how real, lasting health gets built. Choose the ones that work for you, prepare them properly, and let them become a quiet, steady part of taking care of yourself for many more healthy years ahead. If this video gave you something useful today, make sure to like it, share it with someone over 60 who needs to hear this, And subscribe so you don't miss the next video where we dig even deeper into the small daily habits that add up to real lasting health.